swap a 7.5 rear end for an 8.8 in a V6 Mustang. Today I'm actually going to be dropping the fuel tank real quick and fixing some issues with my fuel system before I slap the 8.8 back in its place. That way I got a little more room to work. But we'll get to putting the rear end back in and take care of a few other things while we're at it. Thanks for watching. Let's get after it. Alright guys, to drop the tank, you'll have a quick connect evap line here. Be real careful with these because they're brittle and they'll break. Mine was broken when I got the car, but I don't have the stock fuel system, so I just kind of left that as a vent. And back here, you'll have an evap line, 2 strap bolts, and a quick connect fuel line here, and of course your filler neck. Before you drop your tank, you're going to want to get your jack up underneath it. I like to use a board to kind of stabilize everything. Put it right in the middle, bring it up till it touches the fuel tank. Then we can start removing. Now that I've got my jack in place, I am going to remove my exhaust tips. And if you got aftermarket exhaust, it's a good idea to go ahead and remove your exhaust tips. It makes it a lot easier to get your tank out. But I'm going to run through real quick what I'm going to do. So I've got a bolt here that's going to release my exhaust, and then I'll be able to drop my tip. Then I have a strap bolt here, 2 more on the other side, and then my tank will drop. Then you got a couple wires and stuff connected above it, so you don't want to drop it straight down, and also your filler neck is still connected on the passenger side. So let's run through this real quick and then I'll show you the rest. Alright, and for this side of the strap, there's a bigger hole on the inside right here. And there's a pin. This pin slides out through that larger hole. So if you get a magnet and you line it up, you can pull that pin out and your strap will be loose. Then we just have 2 more bolts on the passenger side. And then 1 more in the front of the tank. Remember, you have your connector here for the charcoal canister, and then you also have a hose going to the front to the intake manifold and your quick release fuel line. We'll go ahead and let the tank down a little bit. Is out. Again, you have an 8mm bolt at your filler neck. You've got 2 vapor lines. One's a quick connect, one just pushes in. You got your quick connect fuel line, You got your harness, another vapor line that just pushes in, your quick connect vapor line, and another vapor line over here that just pushes in. Then you got your strap bolt there, strap bolt there, strap bolt there, and then a strap pin on this end over here on the driver's side. So I've done a little cleaning on the top of the tank and some preventive maintenance. Clean it up real good with a washcloth and water, and all the surface rust I sprayed down with Ospo, which is a rust killer neutralizer. You definitely don't want all that mud and dirt and everything falling down inside your tank when you remove your pump. And I also did some cleaning and preventive maintenance underneath the car. Due to living in a high humidity state, there's mildew, and it just looked really rough in the camera. It looked rusty, and I did find a little surface rust under there. I also sprayed that with Ospo. I'll give you a look at that real quick. And I cleaned under here mostly due to the mud daubers and just because it looked horrid in the video, and it'll probably never get done again. So while I got the tank out and the rear end out, why not? Alright, to remove the pump, you have a connector here, you gotta disconnect that. And the harness is loose. You have 6 8mm bolts. And on a normal fuel system, you'll have hoses going from here to your pump, and also wires going from here to your pump, but I have no wires, and I also don't have the hoses. So I gotta be real careful not to break my sending unit wires. And here's my hose. Like I said, that goes to the rear of the tank, which I need it to go to the front because the tank slopes up slightly. So I'm gonna have to modify this to fit here. Then to get the pump assembly out, you have these 2 little clips. You can pull up on them to release it. And normally this will be your pump housing, and there will be a bottom here with a strainer and your pump, and your hoses will come out of the top going to here. Now that I've got that out, I'm going to go ahead and suck all the fuel out of here, put it in my gas can. tank back in, got the tips remounted. Now we just got to mount the pump up, and we'll be putting the rear end in next. So instead of making a bracket, which is going to bring my pump out further and closer to the differential, I decided to just make a rubber isolator to try to dampen the vibration and the harmonics inside the car. These pumps are very loud, so anything helps. The little rubber thing that they sent with the pump previously did absolutely nothing. So I got some longer hardware, and this mounts behind the pump, and a little bit of blue Loctite to keep these in place and vibrating loose, because you don't want to wrench them down completely super tight and squash this at all, because that will totally defeat the purpose. Let's get it under the car and mount it up. All mounted up, got my ground wire hooked up. I just gotta rerun my power and my filters and my fuel lines. Should be good to go. Alright, getting ready to roll the rear end up underneath the car. There's one more thing that you need to do, because the 9904s use a bigger lower control arm bolt, and you don't want to use the smaller bolt, because the control arm is made for the bigger bolt. So we're going to drill that out quick, and then we'll roll the rear end up under the car. All right, got the upper and lower control arms bolted in, finger tight, and the shocks are not bolted up yet. It's important to leave those hanging. Now we will jack up the rear end, take the jack stands out, let the rear end down, let it hang at full droop, and then we'll be able to pop the springs back in. Let the jack down nice and slow. Let the rear end hang at full droop and it will center itself. With the rear end hanging, take your spring, put your spring isolator back on the spring. Get it up in place. And then you'll be able to pull the rear end down enough to get your spring up onto the control arm. And then use your jack to compress the spring a little on this side, so you'll be able to drop the other side enough to get your spring in. Now on the other side, same thing. Put your spring pocket isolator in. And then remove your jack from the other side. And there you have it, guys. The rear end is in the car with the springs, hanging at full droop, centered. And we'll get to the rest on the next video. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you on part 3.